welcome to my Crochet Infusion channel. Thank you all so much for being here today. So today I'm going to be showing you all how to do the winter berry fur hat. By all means, you don't have to use the fur if you don't want to, but I feel it just gives the hat a really nice finishing touch to it. If you don't have any fur, I suppose you could always opt for maybe a velvet yarn or something like that if you wanted to instead of using the fur. So I'm using simply Aran yarn. You're not going to use all of this 100 grams on this skein, and this is only 50 grams, so if you want your brim to be wider, I definitely recommend you're going to need more than 50 grams. So to start, I'm going to be using a 5mm crochet hook. You're going to need some scissors, a tapestry needle and a tape measure. Okay, so I'm going to start by making a magic ring, and I'm going to be using the 5mm crochet hook as I mentioned before. So now I'm just going to start by making the magic ring. So take your yarn, I'm going to leave this tail to hang it over my fingers on the inside, and I'm just going to separate these two fingers and this yarn. I'm just pulling from the back. I'm going to gently move that around, and I place that around. It's going to sit over this finger, and then my little finger is just going to hold that into place. So I've got this X. So I'm going to insert my hook, and it's going to go under this first strand that's here, and then I'm going to just move my hook so it's facing down, and I'm going to take this back strand and that's just going to pull underneath. And as I do that, I just curl my fingers in and just lift the yarn and just give that a little bit of a twist. Take my two fingers out of the loop. I'm going to pick up my yarn. I'm going to chain 2, so pick up your yarn and pull through the loop that's on your hook, so that's 1, and then do the same again, so you've got a chain of 2. So now I'm going to yarn over my hook, and I'm going to do 8 half double crochets into the ring. So yarn over your hook, insert your hook into the ring and pull the yarn through under the ring, 3 loops on the hook, and then you're going to pull through all 3 loops. This is where it's quite tricky when you first start doing a magic ring, because nothing's really to hold on to, so it gets a little bit tricky. So just pull your yarn through all 3 of those loops, and that's your first half double crochet. So now we need to do another 7. So yarn over into the ring, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, and just keep and hold at the base of the ring and pull through all 3 of those loops. That's 2, and just keep working like this until you've got 8 half double crochets into your ring. I'll meet you back once I've got all 8 half double crochets into my ring. Okay, so once you've got all your 8 half double crochets in your ring, you now want to close the ring. So taking the shorter tail, and you're just going to pull on that until your ring closes. So once your ring is closed, we're now just going to insert my hook back through the loop and pull. So now we want to go into the second chain that we did that first 2 chain when we first started. So 1 and 2. I'm going to go into that second chain, insert my hook and pull the yarn through and pull through the loop that's already on my hook, and I'm just going to close that again. So now we're going to do a chain 2 again. This time we're going to do 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. So that's going to make it up to 16 stitches. So we've got 8 stitches here, now we're going to move on to 16 because we're going to do 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. So going into that very first stitch, so we're not going to go into here, we're going to go into here. We're going to do 1 half double crochet and then 2 into the next stitch and work another 2. Yarn over your hook into the next stitch, pull the yarn through, 3 loops on the hook and pull through all 3, and the same again into that same stitch, into the next stitch for another 2. So just keep doing 2 half double crochets all the way around until you've got 16 stitches all the way around. I'll meet you back once I've got all 16. Okay, so I'm just about to do my last increase onto this last stitch right here. So insert your hook, pull your yarn through, pull through 3 loops, and then do the same again into that same stitch. Remember to count your stitches before moving on to the next round, so just gently move your work and just count each stitch. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. So now we're just going to do a slip stitch again into that second chain like we did before. Going into that second chain and make your slip stitch, chain 2. So now we're going to go into that next stitch and we're going to do 1 half double crochet, just the one on its own. Going into that next stitch and we're going to do an increase, so it's 2 double crochets. And this is the pattern sequence, is just 1 half double crochet and then 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. You're going to keep working like this all the way around until you've got a total of 24 stitches, and I'll meet you back once I've got 24 stitches. So it's 1 and then increase, 1 increase, 1 increase. Okay, so I will be finishing this round with an increase. So 1 and 2, and you should have now 24 stitches in that round. So once again we're going to slip stitch again into that second chain that we did. So 1 and 2, make your slip stitch, insert your hook, pull your yarn through and pull through the loop that's on your hook, chain 2 again, and this time we're going to do 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, and then we're going to work our increase. So yarn over your hook into that first stitch and do 1 half double crochet, yarn over into the next stitch for a 1 half double crochet, over into that next stitch and work your increase of 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. And you're going to keep working like this all the way around. So 1, 1 and then increase. 1, 1, make sure you go in there properly, and then increase. And I'll meet you back once I've finished this round. At the end of this round you will have 32 stitches. Okay, so once again we're going to finish on an increase. So I've got 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet and then 1 increase, and as I said it will be 32 stitches. So yarn over into the next stitch for 1, into the next for 1, and then the very last one which is going to be an increase for 1 and 2. So now we're going to do a slip stitch again to join that round. So 1 and 2, insert your hook into that second chain, pull the yarn through and chain 2 again. So this next round we need to get the stitches up to 40, so to do that we're going to do 1 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches on their own, yarn over, I'm going to go into the first stitch and do 1, into the next stitch for 2, into the next stitch for 3, and then we're going to do our increase. That's 2 stitches in the same stitch. So 1, 2 and 3 and then increase. I'll give you 40 stitches at the end of this round, and I'll meet you back once I've got 40 stitches. So it's always a good idea to count your stitches before moving on. If you are struggling, I should have mentioned earlier to make sure you use a stitch marker at the beginning of each round. So if you need a stitch marker, you would place it on that stitch 2, on the chain 2 before we do our slip stitch into there, so you know the end and the beginning of each round. However, I am not using a stitch marker today, but this is how my round is working up. So I've got 40 stitches and we're going to carry on doing some more increasing. This time we're going to get this up to 48. So now we're just going to do a slip stitch into that second chain, so 1 and 2, insert your hook and pull your yarn through and make a slip stitch, chain 2. So now we're going to do a 1 half double crochet in the next 4 stitches, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, yarn over into that first stitch for your first half double crochet, so 1, 2, 3 and last one for 4, and then we will do our increase, 2 half double crochets into that same stitch. So I'll meet you back once I've got 48 stitches at the end of this round, so it's 1 in the next 4 and then an increase. Okay, so now I've got 48 stitches. We now need to get this up to 56 stitches, so we're going to do a slip stitch into that second chain again, so 1 and 2, insert your hook and pull through, and then we're going to chain 2 again. So now we're going to do a 1 half double crochet in the next 5 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase. So yarn over your hook and going into that first stitch for your first half double crochet, so that's 1, into the next 2, 3, 4 and then 5, and then we're going to do our increase of 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. Going to repeat that all the way around until you've got 56 stitches, and I'll meet you back once I've got 56 stitches. Now I've got 56 stitches, I'm just going to do my slip stitch as I did on the previous round, so 1 and 2 in that second chain, and make your slip stitch and chain 2 again. So now we're going to do a 1 half double crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then we'll do our increase. So yarn over your hook and going into that first stitch and do a 1 half double crochet into the next for 2, 3, 4, 5 and then 6, and then we will work our increase. I'm just going to keep repeating that all the way around till you've got 64 stitches at the end of this round, and I'll meet you back when I get back to here. Okay, so now we're going to do another slip stitch, and we're going to join the round together on that second chain, so 1 and 2, make your slip stitch and chain 2. So this is going to be the last round now for increasing, so we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 7 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase. So same as all the other rows, we're just going to go straight into that first stitch and do 1 half double crochet. Make sure you've been counting your stitches before moving on to the next round. So we're going to do 7 half double crochets, that's 3, 4, 5, 6 and then 7, and then we'll work an increase, and we'll repeat this all the way around until you've got a total of 72 stitches, and I'll meet you back once I get to the beginning, back to here again, back to the end. So now I've got 72 stitches all the way around. We're now going to do a slip stitch. Every time we do a new row, we are always going to put a slip stitch on the second chain and chain 2 before moving on. So now we're just going to do 1 half double crochet in each stitch, and we're going to do that for 7 rounds. So yarn over into that very first stitch. Here you might want to use a row counter to keep an eye on how many rounds you've actually done. So this will be round 1, and I will meet you back once I have done 7 rounds of 72 stitches all the way around, remembering to slip stitch and chain 2 before moving on to your next round. So I'll meet you back once I get to the end of round 7. So it's just 1 half double crochet, no increasing, no decreasing, just 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around for 7 rounds. Okay, so this is how the hat is now starting to look. As you can see, it's starting to now take shape. So now we're just going to finish these last couple half double crochets, which is just to here, and then I'm going to slip stitch just like we always do, but then when we go on to the next stitch, that's where we're going to attach our new colour. So I'll show you how to do that anyway. So we're just going to finish these last half double crochets, and then we want to make a slip stitch to attach that round together. So what I'm going to do here, actually, I'm going to drop this yarn. I'm actually not going to finish the slip stitch in the red, so I'm actually going to cut some of that red in the moment. But first I'm going to attach on my fur yarn. This is the fur yarn that I am using. You can use any fur yarn that you want to use. I'm just going to take the end, just attach that over your hook, and just simply pull that through those two loops. So pull through the first loop and then pull through the red loop and just do a chain one. So it's quite hard to see because obviously we're working with fur. I am using the same size hook, although it recommends to use a different size hook, but I'm okay with using this size hook simply because the spine on this yarn, so it makes it easy to actually find where I'm going. A lot of it I do through actually feel rather than seeing, because it's impossible to see your stitches through this. So it's just a case of taking your time as you're going around. So for my first hat that I did, which was in pink, I'll just get that for you now, I did 7 rows of single crochets for this fur. So that's all I did, that's all I got out of 50 grams of yarn, which is not a bad size for a brim on your hat. But of course, if you want yours to be longer and you might want to fold it, you can absolutely do that if you've got more yarn to attach on to get more out of that, depending on what fur yarn you've got and everything else. So this only comes in a 50 gram, what I'm actually using. So I'm just going to go ahead now and do some 1 single crochet. So I'm actually going to go into that very first stitch. You can actually see where your stitches are at the moment because we haven't done the round yet. So I'm just going to go into that very first stitch, and I am actually just going to work over this tail and just do a single crochet. So insert your hook and pull through 2 of those loops and go in into the next stitch, and just keep working a 1 single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you back when I get to the end of this round. So just keep working 1 single crochet. Like I said, it might be a bit tricky if you want to change your hook size up to going up to a larger size to make it easier. You can absolutely do that, but for me, I'm okay with using this size hook that I've been using throughout the whole of my project. So I'll meet you back once I've done a whole round of a 1 single crochet. Okay, so I'm just coming to the very last stitch here now. As you can see, it's getting a bit awkward to see where your stitches are as you're going around. So this is why it's quite awkward with this yarn, but it is easy when you know how. So as long as you're counting your stitches as you go, so you know you're not missing a stitch, that's the best thing you can do. So I've got 1 more stitch to go just there. So now normally I do a slip stitch and a chain 1. Well, actually I'm going to change that over a little bit. I'm actually not going to do that now. I'm just going to keep working my rounds with just the 1 single crochet. So I'm going to go into this next round. So now I know I'm on the next round. The best way to distinguish where your rounds are from the rounds before, you will see we've got this distinctive little bit of a line going on where the joining is from before. So as long as you reach that there and you've counted your stitches, then you know you're okay to move on to the next round. So now I'm just going to insert my hook into this very first stitch, and as I say, it's hard to see, so you do have to just pinch in the yarns to get to know where the stitches are. You can actually feel them, so it's a little bit awkward having to feel, but as long as you are just feeling where those stitches are, you'll feel like a bump, and then you'll feel where the stitch actually will fit in. So just insert your hook and pull through 2 loops, and then into that next stitch, which is right here. And like I said, if this is your first time for using this kind of yarn, it is a little bit awkward at first, but it does get easier in time. And as I said, if you feel you need to up your hook, then absolutely do so. So I'm going to do 6 more rounds in this fur yarn, and I'll meet you back once I get to the end of the rounds and show you how mine's looking, and then we'll sew all these tails in. Okay, so now I'm just at the end here with the fur yarn, so I'm just going to fasten this off. So to fasten off, just do your last single crochet, well, my last single crochet, and I'm just going to do a chain 1 and just pull all the way through, and then you can just cut the remaining yarn and simply sew that in as you normally would. It might be an idea to use a large tapestry needle to make sure the yarn fits through okay, and then just simply sewing in the inside. So just sewing in these little tails. So I'm just going to quickly sew these in to show you the best way to secure. So what you want to do is literally just go through the fibre, so the yarn is going this way. So I like to try and follow which way the yarn goes. So I'm just going to pop that through there. I'm going to go through that loop to secure that. I'm actually just going to go through again and just going through, not actually going all the way through, like I say, just take it through the fibres as neatly as you can. And you can even go back the other way just to keep it better secure. And that is it. That is your hat now complete. Just finish off sewing these little ends in, and then I am completely done. So I'm just going to cut that there and show you how this hat is actually looking. So this is how it is looking. Now it is completely done. Like I say, just got to sew this end in, and that is now ready. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial, and I'll be back soon with more things for us to make. Until then, take care everyone. Bye!